Ironic, but okay. Hmm. All right, another session. Technically, in this live stream, it's going to be more of a what I would do. All the philosophy's been put, all the knowledge, every tips I been grabbed among the last 4 years. It could be a lot faster. There's always ways because technically the biggest hurdle is the well. Wait, testing, testing. Okay. Just want to make sure if I'm streaming or not right now. Hmm. Okay. Basically, okay. Let's imagine a scenario that, for example, I were to sell every knowledge, everything of my entire Mandarin Chinese, and someone bought it, and or I had to abandon it for some reason, and I had to restart from zero, as in I can't understand it, I can't speak it, and I can't read. So that's already one obstacle. So basically, the first thing I would even consider is that what is the right approach and how do you create the efficiency required to move at a decent pace in general. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is let's start with a simple share screen. Okay, let's assume that if I had 1 or 2 years, let's say 2 years to be realistic, to be as decently functional in the language as I can be. Now, the first thing, let's see, starting over again. New title. All right. Now, the first thing I definitely want to say is that Mandarin Chinese itself is definitely one of those tough languages, and that you have to consider very carefully. So basically, let's say for Chinese, you have a 2 year goal, as in you would after 2 years you automatically put me in the country out of context, and my objective is to survive when most of the people don't speak English, only the younger generation. Okay, let's assume that for Mandarin Chinese that we have to consider all factors such as we have reading aspect, we have the listening aspect, we have writing aspect, and we have speaking aspect. But the writing in this case will be typing because everything is all based on typing after all. Now, for this, the first part is we want to create I call this the efficiency of the multiplier sector, as in everything is going to be based on efficiency in this certain case. And this is what we have to consider because we're tackling a behemoth of a language. You want to first figure out what is considered the fastest way to do anything in general. The multiplier effect helps increase your rates to get to the goal as fast as possible because in reality most people study at a very slow pace, and we want to consider all factors. So basically, a language such as Mandarin Chinese is an FSI level 5, so you want to check all the languages real quick. Okay, let's say that Mandarin Chinese is going to be considered category 5. Now, the tough part is since Spanish is category 1, we use Spanish as a reference. We'll say that Spanish is more. Spanish is giving more of a times 1 factor as a multiplier of 1x because an average speaker can learn Spanish at a pace like 5 times faster than Mandarin Chinese. So we'll say 1 times versus Mandarin Chinese, that's going to be more of a 0.2x factor, and that's going to be the most annoying part because you have to pretty much do 5 times the equivalent of Chinese, the studying amount, to even match the amount of an average Spanish speaking learner. Now, the challenging part is because we have to consider that we have to figure out how can we increase the efficiency that we can get this number closest to 1x to match the speed of the Spanish learner. Now, the first thing for reading is that we need to, there's pretty much multiple ways of tackling reading. The first to increase efficiency is to ignore the tones from the beginning. What I would do is I would ignore the tones. I would always do it over again because you need the words in order to listen, and because of that, that's your biggest hurdle. You're being held back. So to ignore the tones, this will give you an extra maybe 2 multiplier plus. Another one will be using Lingq for the instant translation. Because of that, you have the instant. You have another plus 2 times, and then use for the Lingq. Just using Lingq in general. So basically, this factor would be about instant translation. That's definitely the first thing. Instant translation on click. And then now you want to use the keyboard functions of Lingq. Use on the computer and use keyboard. This will give you also plus 2x for speed wise. This to speed to go through blue, yellow words. All right, but creating links. Creating links is technically the neural process in which your brain is trying to link the words to the actual meaning itself. So that's pretty much the biggest factor that you have to consider as well. Let's see. For at the moment, these are what I have. So I think in this context, with all these 4, this could give you so plus 0.20, and if you able to use all this, you will be matched to a Spanish speaker about 1 in this context only. All right. For listening, the tones, the thing is you won't even notice the tones from the beginning, and all you have to consider, you just want to see the character linked to the sound and the meaning itself, and that your brain will automatically process and filter everything. You have nothing to worry about for that part. Basically, the first part is a silent period. Basically a silent period. You don't talk. This pretty much gives you the extra time to practice your listening skills because listening means everything. So you have silent period, and then you want to have the language reactor extension. With the language reactor extension, you're able to click on a single word while you're watching YouTube videos and get instant translation. This speeds up your process a lot faster. You definitely need that. Let's see, testing real quick. Yep, the mic's on. All right. This is purely education. I'm just going to give what I would do if I had 2 years. Pretty much if I had the same time frame I had before and I do the same exact thing again, it'll be about 2 times faster if I just did this right. For listening, you want to do a 10-minute listening blocks, and you want to do this because it allows your brain to reset and not overburn. Because pretty much when you overdo it, you are going to slow yourself a lot more in the long run, and you do need your brain power to even contemplate or how to comprehend the listening and reading. But in the first year, this is completely what most people will go against me. Only in this case, for sure, is that in the first year, 16, first year of Mandarin, only reading reading is technically your biggest hurdle because one, you do not have the characters or the equivalents of the pinyin to allow you to read as fast as your normal language. Therefore, you're slowed down by a lot more, and that's really going to be the most annoying part. You're going to have to consider that in all factors. Let's see, Mandarin, read only. Read only. By reading, I mean by creating links. Get as many known words as possible. Now the thing is, we have for Spanish, for example, we have the FSA A1, A2, A3. So we have A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. In terms of vocabulary, they have a certain amount of words required to even consider yourself in this category. But because of Lingq, we have to consider all the different forms of everything. So it makes it a lot more complicated. Basically, each of these levels will give you a multiplying effect of how many. The more words you know, the faster you're going to listen. So let's say if you reach the A1 equivalent of Lingq to statistics of Lingq, you hit a 0x, as in there's no increased improvement here. So plus 0. If you did A2, you have equivalence of 0.2% increase, or times, however you want to say it. Hello, if anyone in chats, please prefer to say hello so I know you're here, so I don't all of a sudden think this is going to be a really, really lonely stream. Let's see. When you hit B1, you're going to get a multiplying effect, an additional, so it'll be about 0.2 multiplying, and for B2, you're going to get an extra multiplying effect of 0.02. For C1, you're going to get an increased multiplying effect of 0.2. And of course, we use C2, it just keeps getting higher and higher. Because words are technically will increase your efficiency. You have to know that, because without words, your efficiency can't go up and you can't make physical process of progress itself. For Mandarin Chinese, this is how it's going to be. But if you were to compare that to Spanish, it would be for A1, it's pretty much standard, still going to be the same, nothing's different. But when you hit A2 in Spanish, now you reach 2 times, 3 times, I believe, 4 times. It gets a lot faster because Spanish is super similar to English, which allows you to even predict most of the words that you're going to hear in reality. All right. But yeah, to be honest, not really 6 times, but my goal is to make it about 5, 4, 3, 2, maybe 1.5, just to be nice. Okay. Now, because of this, we have to consider that for Mandarin Chinese, you're going to have to do 5 times the amount of work. And although it's possible, it's very painful. So basically, in the first year of Mandarin, you want to read only, and you want to create as many links as possible. For example, what I would do physically is I would create 100 links a day, because 100 links a day will help you create the neurons, and without links your brain can't start to learn, because once it starts converting, then your brain needs to continue until it learns the word subconsciously. So for the first year, I would try to do 100 links a day and eventually bring it up to maybe 500 links a day. It's doable, because when I first started, I went from 100 to like 300 links, and you can go further beyond. But if you spread the time throughout the day, then it's a lot easier. Because without links, then you're pretty much forcing your consciousness to even study, and your brain can't really process that much information at once. So you want to spread out throughout the day, and you won't overburn what the technical terms. And then I would hold zero listening in the beginning, until zero listening until I reach 10,000 known words on Lingq. Because we have 10,000 words, you are equivalent of a B1 or A2, 8 around there. But around that level, all you can do is listen to very simple context, very simple content, and that's pretty much all you need in the beginning stage. And every time I were to do this, so listen, bunch of links a day, no listening until 10,000 words, and then afterwards, within a year, you're definitely gonna get the 10,000. But the real progress is when you start hitting 30,000. Then that's when you can start listening. Every time I use the bathroom, actually, let's gonna make this part. If you want to make links a lot faster, every time you use the bathroom, creates, I don't know, 5 links. This definitely help you speed up the process, the listening until 10,000 words. This is just for the first year. Afterwards, I want to start listening once at 10,000. Once you get 10,000, this is when I will start using language reacts to help me start listening to content, simple content. You want to import all comprehensible input videos, pretty much the people that titles it comprehensible Chinese and such. That you want those kind of videos for sure. All right. After that, once you reach a certain part, I recommend you do 10-minute listening frames. So after 10,000, after 10,000 known words, you want to listen within a 10-minute listening session. Within a 10 minutes listening session, you might get about 1 minute worth of real life content, and that's not that much. But this is how you're going to start in reality. You want to, of course, target the comprehensible input in the beginning for the first 2 months, whatever. Afterwards, you want to increase the difficulty to find content between 2 people. Now, the ironic part is that since it's only 1 minute, you're going to have to do that about 5 times when you reach this stage, just to match the equivalent of a Spanish speaker. So basically, the goal is to do 5 10-minute listening sessions. And yep, you need 5 minutes of 10 listening sessions for sure. Afterwards, you're going to reach a point that you want to start speaking. And to start speaking, you want to start using Google Translate to help you start speaking, because you need to actually create the physical talk to yourself in your head and use Google Translate when you're blocked. Pretty much it. When there's a blockade, you want to use Google Translate to help you translate and get the words you need to move on. And because of that, you have to consider the tones in this stage. When you have to consider tones, you need to know that you should have a separate studying session just for tones, because it's hard to try to link them all together. You try to do everything in one session, then you start you're overburning and such, and it's very painful. So most people do, they always cram everything in one session. I would recommend you do in blocks. For example, if you had 1 hour a day for the first year, I would all out do for 1 year. I would literally do all 60 minutes, just 60 minutes of creating links and making getting known words until 10,000. And then after that, you want to stack that activity and split. After you hit 10,000, you're going to have to split to maybe 20 minutes of linking and known words, and then 40 minutes of listening. because you need words and you need to listen. Listening is the real progress. Words is the actual multiplying effects. So you need both. It's kind of the painful part. Let's see. For the first year, I would uh, have time a session for linking, and you have a separate session for listening. And then once the 1 year's over, one to okay, year 1 to year 2, sure. This is pretty much the end goal. Super simple. The first thing you want to do is you want to, of course, keep increasing the amount of words you have. So ideally, you should maybe be around 30,000 words completed, maybe. And then afterwards, you want to all out do 5-10 minute sessions. So 50 minutes of listening, 5 minutes of talking to yourself, and 5 minutes of learning tones for each character. Because of the tones, you only need very few words, and therefore you don't need to study tones of every single thing. Because we learned one word for tones of one word, it's going to spread out to like 5 other words, and therefore it's a multiplying effect in itself. Because your objective is to increase the efficiency and get the same amount of work done as if you were to learn Spanish, for example. Basically, year 1, 2, and 2, you have about 30,000 words completed if you have done 100 to 500 links a day. At this point, you're going to be seeing a dang word all the time, and you're going to get very tired of seeing the word, and you're just going to learn it naturally. Within here, if you drive, then let's just say that's a shadow when driving or when doing chores. So let's say it's about 10 minutes. You want to keep doing this to get the perfect pronunciation as close as possible. And let's just say the equivalent time is about one total 1 hour 10 minutes. It's actually pretty doable though, this entire routine itself. But just know that in the beginning it's going to be very annoying. But the biggest thing you want to consider is all the multiplying effects. So let us review very quickly for reading. If you want to increase the efficiency of Mandarin for reading, you want to ignore the tones in the beginning, and then you want to use Lingq to use instant translation. We click on a button. And third is we use the keyboard to allow you to go through words a lot faster and then create links in general. Because, for example, if I were to go on Lingq and if I were to give you an example, if I were to test it, see Chinese traditional. My exact approach for learning every single word is you want to hyper focus. You want to take your time on each word you encounter, blue, yellow, and ignore all whites because they will eventually come back and you don't have to worry about it. So I need the sure font bold. All right. For example, you want to have the setting that they don't show the ping at the top. You want to click it and then you want to have the chance to see the pinging because first you want to first guess. Do I okay before you look at this before you click on it? Do I know the word just the pinging? So 故事. Okay, if you know it, you know the pinging, and then you gotta know the translation. Oh god, and then okay, ping and the translation. Once you got those, if you happen to know the translation or you have a visual image in your head, then that counts as known. But your goal is just to speed it up. Okay, so the first mindset is before you click on the word, do you know it? If not, okay, we click on it. You want to focus on seeing just the pinging without the tones. This is what I recommend. And afterwards, get the exact translation to English. And then next time, you don't want if you know it, that you can go for it. But I recommend that the next time you see it, that's the real test itself. All right, as before I click on it, so I know it's okay. If not, I look at it, I see here E, and then the translation. Okay, let's assume I don't know. But basically, you want to carry a laptop with you everywhere if you can, or use your phone. Phone is more hyper focused to help you learn the words faster. But I recommend computer for speed. Names to ignore, use X. All right, yeah. Before you click on it, do I know the word? Otherwise, nope. Does it say assume I don't know? Good. Okay, good to know. But once you start knowing words, your pace increase a lot faster. You can start using the keyboard, the right arrow and the K to start making it known, numbers to tell you how well you know it. Yeah. Okay, let's just summarize what I would do differently, and it'll increase my efficiency twice as much. First, I'll create twice the amount of links, and I would create links anywhere I go. Before I eat something, I create 5 links. If I were to before I sleep, I need to do 10 or 50 links, and then eventually you have to reach a point that okay, I have enough links. There's too much yellow, so now I need to start concentrating on each word. I need to make these words known. So that's the most annoying part. Especially you want to 13 known words a day, and then maybe 20, and then you want to increase like maybe 5 every I don't know a few weeks or month. Let's just say you want to eventually get the known words. Daily known words. You have to force yourself to get maybe 13 a day, and then eventually hit to like 25, and then words to 50 words, and then your ideal is 100. But if you do all the 100 to 500 links a day, then you're gonna pretty much learn about 100 up to 300 words, I believe. If you're very focused on links, let's just say the goal for links, you want to get about 60,000 links total as fast as possible. The writing can be very annoying because, yeah, if someone sends me a message or anything you want to clarify, because I'm saying this all out of free for all, my imagination. So if you weren't here, I just assume I were to throw everything out, all my knowledge, listening, speaking, writing, speaking. I can't understand anything, throw away. First step for the first year, I would read and create links a lot on Lingq. That's step one. Once I reached 10,000 words, I would start going on YouTube to use something called Language React, which allows you to find content and it has subtitles for you to actually physically hover over the word and allows you to get the instant translation between the characters, and it has the ping provided, but also to your language. Once you create the neurons, that's already one step closer to learning the word. After that, you want to start pushing yourself to learn a certain amount of known words a day. 13. When I started, I did like 13 a day. And then I pushed it to 25, 550, and then 100. And eventually I pushed it to like 700 a day. Only for like a week, but in reality, 100, you need to have a very consistent known word to chase. So 100 a day is pretty good. And then for a listening ratio, it doesn't really matter about passive listening that much, but I would recommend you do 5-10 minute sessions. If you had 1 hour, okay. Let's assume you have 1 hour. If you want the best results, I recommend doing 5-10 minute sessions. Otherwise, just stick with maybe 2 or 3 10-minute sessions, 30 minutes of listening, 20 minutes of learning links, creating links, learning no words. Speaking, using Google Translate to actually help you convert passive words into active words, because without active and passive words, without active words, you can't speak. And then, yeah, within the first year, 60 minutes, 20 minutes of linking, 40 minutes of listening. And then once you reach the second year, this is pretty much the point that you are in pressure, because let's say you have to learn this language now. Because if I were to move to China within like 1 year from now, I would probably hope I have a certain amount of words that I already have, and then just all out listening. You need to all out listening, because if you don't understand the other person, you're pretty much just gonna lose. Just imagine if someone invades your house, you have nothing prepared. So basically, your only defense is just your hands. Yeah, you need to be prepared. You need to understand everything they're saying, and you need to prepare to say those stuff back. That's pretty much the talking to yourself. Try to use Google Translate and fill up all the blocks, the empty voids. Pretty much anything you can't say, use Google Translate. That's it. Have a separate session for learning tones for accuracy. because at first they will really understand you, but they can understand context because context is what gives you enough so that they can go off of. And after that, you want to sound more accurate to a native speaker. Shadow as much as you can. Shadowing is when you have a real life audio and you are mimicking the person in real time. Because of that, you're going to get closer and closer to the person. But I recommend doing shadowing. Ideally, you want to have a separate session for shadowing at home when it's quiet and you have the earbuds on and you have a microphone to start talking. But I also recommend you can do it while driving, you can do it while doing chores. You just put on earbuds, just talk, mimic everything. That's already training itself because physical training your mouth muscles is going to be enough to get you speaking more. And pretty much when if you repeat this every single day, because the hyper focus is on the listening, because Mandarin Chinese is all context. Because if you can understand Mandarin, the Chinese people are super difficult at the beginning because they have all different accents. Like you were to learn Spanish, there's like three different, just like multiple Colombian, Peru, Costa Rican. Yeah, that's gonna be the most challenging part is accents. But once you have a certain point of we reach a certain progress, then this is all you really need. If you continue it every day, just keep listening 50 minutes, use Google Translate for 5 minutes, sure, and learn the session for toads. You'll eventually get there, and it's just simple as that. But yeah, pretty short stream. But if anyone has questions, feel free to send me a message. But yep, thank you very much. I'm just going to end it here since I got no one sending me a message. So, take care.